So, hello, Alana. We are here live now with our Empowered Women's Circle, and we are really, really excited to have you. We've been chatting a little bit about your background, and you're coming to us from Reno, Nevada, where unusually it's snowed.
Yes.
Background.
Yes.
And how do you manage snow? Are you good with it, or not so good with it, or not sure?
I like the snow. I like the way it looks, and I like how, it gives like that comfy like atmosphere, but I can't drive in it, and I don't like other people driving in it. So I'm one of those drivers that stays all the way on to the right and drives really slow. And I'm like, if you guys want to speed, go ahead, just go ahead and pass me. I'm gonna get to my destination safe.
And we see that you're in your car, so we hope that you get home safely and that you're not actually stuck in a snowbank right now.
Yeah, nope, nope. It's actually sunny outside. It's nice and clear. We had a lot of snow last night, but we shouldn't expect any more that I know of.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I haven't seen snow in quite a while. I have relocated to Houston from Canada, but snow has always been my friend, so enjoy that. I'm going to introduce you officially so everyone knows who you are, Alana Dixon McAllister, and you are an author of this amazing book, What Self-Love Got to Do with It. And
Yes.
you are in this book with several other authors we will be interviewing as we go, but we're really excited. You're the absolute first one. You were the most enthusiastic,
Yay.
getting back to us right away. And so I want to share your chapter. You're also a life coach, herbalist, and wellness advocate, and you're looking to help women build the life of their dreams from a lifestyle perspective and a mindset perspective. So compiling the mind, body, soul, which is what we do here at the Empowered Women's Circle as well. I think
Right.
we're going to hear a little bit about your health issues and how that is part of your story today, which is the case for so many women. So I'm sure that that will resonate with a lot of people. And I'm really excited to hear more about what you see as a valuable and essential self-love routine that works for you and that works for, I guess, each of the women personally and individually. I will share at the end as well your professional website, empowermentofthesoul.com, and we'll spell that out in our subsequent emails to make sure everybody knows where they can contact you. So right up front, why don't you share a little bit about yourself? Tell us who you are and how you came to be an advocate of women's empowerment.
So my journey actually started when I moved up to Reno 7 years ago. I was in a really bad relationship down in Las Vegas. I ended up with domestic violence.
Oh, unfortunately, you're freezing for us. You're freezing for us. Just a minute.
Cops, but they arrested only me and
Okay,
I.
Alana, just pause
Yes.
for a second. You froze for the really, really important part of your story. So
Oh, sorry.
little blips. I'm sorry. You're perfect now, though. I'm sorry if you don't mind
Oh,
recapping.
go ahead. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So I went to jail for 3 days down in Las Vegas. My ex-husband and I got into a fight. Um, Pictures of him and another woman at my mom and dad's house from when I went on vacation for my grandfather's birthday down in Alabama. And so I lost it. I ended up slapping him, and he ended up picking me up and choking me out to where I almost passed out. And I called the cop. The cops came, and because I told what I did, and I said I hit him first, I went to jail. Usually in most states, both parties go to jail, but it was only me. So I went to jail for 3 days. I got released, came home, and then found out that he had ransacked my apartment. Basically, that put me in like a crazy depression spell. Me not trusting people. I just wanted to be completely left alone. And so when I got this job opportunity to move up here, because this all happened during like the big, housing market crash where everybody lost their homes and all of that. I moved up here for work, and I actually found peace. I call it my Cinderella moment, where I was standing on my balcony in my apartment, and all of a sudden, like, I'm drinking coffee, and you could hear the birds there like, why can't life be like this, like all the time? And so that's what started my journey of trying to find and self-fulfillment and trying to actually figure out exactly who it is that I am, because I didn't know. Being a military child, I went from, place to place to place. And I've always tried to fit into everyone else's circle instead of letting people know who I was. So, I had to figure out who Alana was and what it is that I actually stood for versus me trying to, be the title of that person's wife or that person's girlfriend, or, I'm just the same as everybody else. So I wanted something completely different. And that's where my journey started at.
Wow. Alana, you've just really laid open and shared with us some, really deep, challenging times in your life. And I just want to reflect back to you the strength that I feel that has,
Right.
You have said in your chapter in the book and in some of the words that we have shared, that you want to help lift women up and support women. And I really get a sense that you're coming from a place, a heartfelt place of having lived through so many challenges and just really being able to know where people are coming from. And I know in the book you mentioned, when I read it, it really hit me. You mentioned that there were times that you would sit in your car and cry. And
Right.
as I read it, I realized I have done the same thing. And as I read it and realized you and I had both done that, I was thinking how many women have sat in their car and cried and sort of reached that point of what I would consider, for me, as I was doing it, one of the most lonely places you could be, and sort of a bottom, hopefully. How many people do you think have done that? How many women do you think have experienced what you and I have experienced? And
All of us, all
okay,
of us have,
yeah,
because, it's like our car is our safe space. Like our car is our second home. So it's where we feel comfortable at. So that's where your emotions are. Then you have, the world flying around you. So, you're already emotional. Cars are driving past you, cutting you off, making you even more pissed off than you already are. So, like, your emotions are at an all-time high. So everything just gets released in our car. We just let it all out.
yeah. And I don't know who in my family's going to watch this, but sometimes I'll just pull in the driveway and not get out of my car for not wanting to go into like real life and put the hat on. Kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm in the car, nobody really knows I'm home, even though they kind of probably saw the garage go up and down. So I'm I'm inspired, and I'm sort of encouraged at hearing you say that very likely all of us have done that, and that there's a way forward, and that there's just a deep understanding, that we as women go through so much, and that we feel alone, but we're absolutely not alone, even in those really, really, really low times.
Right. Right. Yeah, we have to remember that, even though we are all experiencing different aspects of life, we've all gone through it, and somebody understands what it is to feel like what you are feeling in that moment.
Yeah. And how do you go from knowing that, which is kind of the first step that we're talking about, to acting on it and saying, I don't want to be alone anymore. I know that I can cry in my car alone, but I also know that there's a place for reaching out for help. How did you get there?
I just had to let people know how I was feeling. That's where it started. We hold as women, because we're told to be strong. We're told we can do everything. We're superwoman, but no one ever says how they're feeling on the inside. We don't talk about our feelings. It's like, people don't talk about finances, people don't talk about their sex lives, and people don't talk about how they're feeling. And because I don't know why, but we should talk about all of that stuff, because we are all going through it. It's normal. It's something that, we're all going to experience. We're all going to experience a bout of depression. We're all going to experience some form of anxiety, whether you realize it or not. We're all going to experience happiness and joy. We just need to find the person, or, even if we don't know who that person is that's going through what we're going through, just by us talking about it, someone may say, I know someone who can help you with that.
Mm.
We just have to get it out. And, you know, even just talking to somebody who may not even understand what it is you're going through is a release. Where like, finally, I was actually able to say something and get it off my chest.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you have not only recovered from a lot of the trauma and challenges, but you've actually used it to propel you to a whole new place. And I'd love to hear more about what that journey has been and where you are now that you want to share with us.
Yeah, so I ended up going to therapy at one point because I had to figure out, you know, where my issues were. Like, why was I having panic attacks? Why was I crying all the time? What was really going on? And it was because, from what my therapist told me, is that I never completed the cycle of emotions. You know, so when something that's traumatizing happens to us, we kind of bottle it up and then hurry up and move on to the next event in our lives, versus sitting down, reflecting on what just happened, and experience those emotions. You know, we, like, you know, like I said, how we cry in the car. You know, we're not crying in the car because we're not, you know, let's see, how do I explain it? We're not crying because we don't know what we're crying about. We're crying because we're trying to release, but we're not experiencing the whole entire cycle. So we need to experience the grief. We need to experience the sadness. We need to experience, you know, the event that happened, and then we can move on to the next life cycle. Because if we don't, we just keep compiling all these traumas on top of each other, and it gets compacted to the point to where you can't release anything. And then everything that bothers you or triggers you is going to make you explode, and you're not going to know why. So
Mm.
we have to complete the cycle. So that's what I learned, was to write down, you know, what it was I was experiencing and how I felt in that moment, how it made me feel afterwards. And then I was actually able to release it and feel like I was able to move forward. But it's not just, you know, do it one time and everything is all better. It's something you have to do it over and over and over again until you can talk about that situation and not want to cry and not be where you want to punch a hole in the wall or something. You want to be able to feel at ease with the situation. Okay, you're like, I went through this, I accepted my feelings, and now I can keep on going. That's how I was able to, you know, move on to the next phase and feel, you know, at ease with my life, and
Mm.
things don't make me feel so tense and anxious all the time. And I'm actually able to be like, okay, I understand I'm experiencing this right now. It's just one part of life, and I'm not going to let it get the best of me. But, you know, let's just see what happens next.
Absolutely. I just love how you articulate that, completing that cycle and being ready to move on to the next phase, but realizing that these same emotions and feelings and having to manage are going to come up over and over again. And it's never like, you're never like done.
Correct.
Yeah, and in the Empowered Women Circle, we talk about the meaning that we make. So when something happens to us, it kind of creates this sense that we're not enough, or that we're a failure, that we're not worthy, and that if you just pile on top of that, you carry that identity with you. But what you're talking about is releasing it, opening it, naming it, saying, "Hey, that is not really the truth." Get in under it, or as you say, get around and complete it, so that you can attach yourself to a new identity, to your true identity,
Right.
to the truth of who you are, as opposed to what you were describing when you push it down and you numb it, and you don't want to manage it anymore. Or a lot of people maybe go to drugs or alcohol, or in difficult relationships, or some kind of numbing process that so many people are doing in this day and age.
Right.
I want to get back to something really profound that you did, which may have, it sounds like, been a bit of a cleansing for you, and that was shaving your hair off. Can you
Oh,
share that
yes.
moment with us? It's
Yeah, that
it's so
that was,
freeing, like, just to imagine you doing that.
you know, and ironically, there's a movie out on Netflix. That's I can't remember the name of it. But the with Sanaa Lathan, where she ended up shaving her head, and like that whole life cycle experience. So, you know, like I said, I ended up getting sick after I moved here to Reno, and I was trying to figure out what was what was wrong, because like, I had depressed all of my feelings. Everything was going wrong at that one point being in Vegas, and I'm trying to figure myself out, so I went through this whole natural phase where, I had to change everything from eating to what I was putting on my body, to what I was drinking, to what I was, washing my clothes with, to like just everything, trying to figure out, where my sickness was coming from, because it was a mixture of, of the depression, and a mixture of, of society, and of the foods that we do consume, because with it being lumped so much like pesticides, and all the artificial foods, stuff that we like really should not be eating, but we also consider comfort food because it's what we know, it's what we grew up on. And so I had to start from scratch, and I felt like the only way for me to be able to renew who Alana was to start at the very beginning. Because if you think about it, when we're born, we have no sins, we have no worries, we have no hair, we have nothing. It's just our empty shell, and we have to, go from that point and add in everything that we want to make us who we are. So I ended up completely shaving my head, and I questioned it for a while, because I asked everyone I knew, I'm like, what would you think if I shaved my head? Because I'm trying to figure out, if I do it, I'm going to freak out. Like, but I want to know what everybody else is doing at the time. It's like, whatever it is you want, it's me, and I can do what it is that I want. I think that's what I needed to hear, because, all my life is, you have to do what this person says. You have to do what your teacher says. You have to do what your mother says. You have to do, go do this by the book. Everything is, you have to do it this way, not do it the way that you want to do it. So I went on ahead and called the hairdresser, and I said, okay, I would like to, have you shave off all my hair. And she was like, well, come on down, and we'll go ahead and talk about it. So she sees me, and my hair at the time was permed. It was about the same length it is now. My hair right now, I have locks in my hair, because it's been that long since I've grown it out. But she says to me, she's like, are you sure you want to shave your head? And I said, yes. I said, if I don't do it now, then I'm not going to do it ever, and I won't come back to get it done. And she's like, okay. She's like, normally I just don't shave people's heads. I have to them out, because not everyone has a head shaped for a bald head. She's like, I don't want people, making fun of you or talking about you or whatever. So she said, go ahead and do it. So she took the scissors, and she kept saying, are you sure? Are you sure? And I was like, if you ask me if I'm sure one more time, I'm going to walk out this place. And so she did the first like snip, and she started cutting off all of my hair, and all the other beauticians and the ladies in there getting their hair done all stopped. And they stood up, and they stood next to me, and they were like, why are you doing this? I said, because I feel like I need something different, and I'm trying to see what this brings me. And so they just watched as the lady cut off all of my hair. Then she took the clippers and shaved it all completely down. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I was just like, whoa, this is so weird. Like, I didn't know like how to feel in that moment, but I felt lighter, and I felt like something different. That night I went to bed and laid my head on the pillow, and that was the weirdest feeling, because as women, we have so much hair, it's always up in a ponytail or pulled back or laid down. And, laying on a pillow with no hair is one of the most, like, I don't know. It's almost like when someone's massaging your scalp when you're getting your hair done. It's like euphoric, because you're laying there and there's nothing touching it but the pillowcase. So
Gives
you
me
get all these
shivers.
different sensations. Yeah, you get these different sensations running through your body, and you're just like, okay. So then I got up the next morning, I got in the shower, and I was like, oh, I don't have to do nothing to my hair. I don't have any more hair. So that took time off of me getting dressed in the morning. And I was like, oh, I like this. And then it was like on and popping after that.
Wow, that's amazing. And a couple of things come to mind, but one is that your hair, like it's so many years of growth, and so much of your not only your toxins and years past, but there's so much history in our hair
Right.
you don't think about, and you got rid of it all in one foul swoop, which,
Right.
you were sort of talking about how to break you called them generational curses. And
Right.
I don't know if you related those two things, but to me they seem so related. You're cutting off years and years of your history, and you want to break generational curses. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's you want to get rid of basically what everything that you were taught. These generational curses is what's holding us back from reaching our full potential because of the stigmas that go behind it. From your parents telling you no, you can't do that, to but that's what you want to do. That's what you aspire to do, but you fear for it because someone had told you no, you can't do it. So that's breaking those curses. Teaching yourself a new way. One of the books that I read called Come As You Are, it talks about, the planter box theory of, growing yourself. When you're younger, your parents planted your first seed. That's you when you were born. You become this tree. They've watered you, they've nurtured you, they've given you the nutrients that you've needed. They plucked out the weeds that started to grow around you. But as you got older, you start to realize the weeds that they were plucking were actually beneficial towards you, because they see a weed, like let's use a dandelion for example, as something that should not be there. People see dandelions in the ground all the time. They're like, we need to spray something on that, pull it up. That's no good. But that dandelion gives you the nutritions that you're actually looking for. It's a cleanse. It's also, something you can use for your hair and your skin. It's something that's nourishing for your whole mind, body, and soul. But people don't see it in that way. They just see it as this weed because they were told this is a weed. You see it as this is a nutritional flower that I need to consume. So you have to start telling people, no, don't pluck that from my garden, leave it. And you start planting your own seeds of the fruits and vegetables and other weeds that people may think are into your garden, and you grow it the way that you want to. So now you're tending to your own garden. You're becoming your own, nutritional value for what fits for you, and for what you see fit for other people that you may want to share it with, versus still living in that garden of what your parents planted. Because as we all grow, what your grandparents did for each other is not how you and your husband may do for yourself, which may not be how your daughter or her husband or son may be doing for themselves. It has to keep rotating, because you can't keep planting the same stuff in the same thing. Otherwise you're never turning over the dirt and getting something new and better for yourself out of it.
yeah, I love that metaphor. It's absolutely beautiful. And to imagine the garden that you end up with. And people who know me, they know I often mention I like to post things right on my mirror where I brush my teeth every day as a reminder. And right now it says, you are the only one who knows what's right for you. The only
Exactly.
one. And I'm just, every day I look at it, and once in a while I'll point at it when my husband's talking to me. I'm like, I'm the only one that can answer this. I'm growing my own garden. I'm probably going to do a garden metaphor on my mirror pretty soon after this conversation. And I'm wondering if you can send us a picture of you with no hair.
I can, yeah,
I
I
would
totally
love,
can.
I would
I,
love
I
to.
used I use it as like a transformational post. I even have one dealing with weight too, because the weight that we carry on our body is all emotional stress. A lot of times it's not because of the foods that we are eating, which yes, that is like a big culprit of it. But a lot of the weight that we carry is emotional baggage. And once you get rid of that emotional baggage and that stress and that, anxiety, the weight starts falling off, and it's easier for you to start thinking about the foods that you're eating and the liquids that you're consuming. And the more you're able to, have the energy that you need to exercise or to do that one activity that you used to love, and actually come back to it. Because at one point, like when I went through my depression, I hated cooking. Cooking is one of my favorite things to do. I love baking like goods and, trying out new recipes, and, the food channel was like my forte. But the moment I found that I was depressed, I didn't like any of that. Food was disgusting to me, so I had to relearn how to be in love with food all over again, so that's the test that we have to remember to keep in the forefront when it comes to our healing, our emotional healing and our spiritual healing and our physical healing. It's all connected, and we have to give ourselves those constant reminders that we know, like you said before, we know what's best for us. and keep on that path and not let anybody disturb it so that we can continue to heal even in our happy years.
Right. And you talk about carrying extra weight because of emotion. I mean, it's obviously very, very complicated, but once we manage a lot of the emotional turmoil that's around us, we start to feel potentially more worth it in terms of investing, like you say, time into cooking and shopping and maybe going out and doing some of those activities or getting together with friends, and more of those healthy habits start to be more important to us once
Right.
we can, as you say, release a lot of the generational curses or a lot of the baggage, a lot of the emotional heaviness that we're carrying around.
Right.
And your chapter in the book is called "I Killed My Vagina." So
Yep.
I don't think it would it would be fair if we didn't hear more about your vagina. And I think you're aware I'm an OBGYN, so vaginas are my livelihood. And there is nothing more important for us to talk about, but I'm curious how you titled "I Killed My Vagina" and what you'd like to share with our Empowered Women Circle about vaginas.
So I wanted my chapter title to be one of those like shock and awes. I'm not, now that I have found who Alana is, I realize I am not your common person. I am not the average person that people would see on the street. The things that come out of my mouth, would make my mom be like, oh my God, I can't believe she just said that. But then, it gets people thinking and it gets people talking. And so the chapter title, "I Killed My Vagina," was more for because us as women, we do kill our vaginas because we are our own worst critics, we are our own worst enemies. And in the end, it's also a pun on words at the same time, because our vaginas is our center. I feel that it's part of our universe. It's where we're conceived from. It's where we birth all of our ideas from. It's where we get our love from. It's dealing with our sacral chakra. It has so many different components to it that we, when we're going through our depression, we kill it. Like, your sex drive dies. Then what, a lot of people thrive on having sex, and they feel, well, if I can't have sex, then what else is left for me to do? And it also stems from us being younger, going back to the generational curses of us being told when we were little girls that we're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to touch ourselves. We're not allowed to explore our sexual habits. Yet boys and young men are allowed to, what I like to call, sword fight each other, because I've seen it before where little boys are like drop their pants and they swing themselves back and forth because they're excited about who they are. And it's acceptable for them. Boys will be boys, but girls, no, your girls need to sit dainty, cross their legs, do this. Girls aren't supposed to talk that way, and that's killing our vaginas, because now how are we supposed to know what we like sexually if we've always been told that we're not allowed to know what we like sexually? So how can we tell the person we're with what it is that we enjoy, how they should be handling us and respecting us, and what pleasure to us should actually feel like? A lot of women don't have orgasms because they're afraid to go into that mindset or that mind frame of it and experience it, because they're afraid of what somebody might say or think or feel about them. So they shut it down. And so, we're killing our vaginas on a constant basis. And so we have to remember to, live for us and let our vaginas thrive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the gist of it. I want people to understand that there is a sacred place for them to find their true happiness.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I don't know if we just took this video, which is going to be posted from like G-rated to PG-13 to X-rated with or not, but it's so valuable what you're talking about. I travel the country talking about sexual health and sexual pain and the importance of ongoing, deep, intimate relationships for women into their midlife and beyond. And it's just so vital that we have that understanding of what we need, what our body needs, what our vagina needs. And I always tell people, your biggest sex organ is your brain. Of course, your vagina has to work, but they have to be connected. And there has to be this understanding of your own needs, sexually as well as non-sexually, and the fact that women are so emotionally driven, and the need for non-sexual affection precedes the desire, because if we're not being valued and cherished and loved and cared for, I call it the 24-hour foreplay. If you're in a relationship with a man, when I'm talking to heterosexual couples, if he empties the dishwasher and makes you coffee in the morning and helps with the kids or helps prepare, you for the day, then you're a whole lot more likely to be receptive later after that 24 hours is gone than if it's just like an elbow in the gut, okay, it's time. And the sequence that, a couple, that dance that a couple has to go through. And then of course, if you add pain into it, you've got that whole, as you say, we carry so much of our emotion in our pelvis. You say in your vagina. I talk to a lot of women with pelvic pain, and a lot of it, although there's often a physical nature, a lot of it is very much related to the emotional connection of being willing to be vulnerable and being willing to be open and allowing yourself to be seen by your partner in those really deeply vulnerable ways. So I think you're doing a huge service for women in sharing the vagina work and the creativity that goes along with it. So that's absolutely incredible. Is there any more you'd like to share about developing a self-love routine as it relates to your book, or anything else?
Yeah, there's from what I was taught was, I call it the mirror self check. And what that is women looking at themselves.
So for everybody else, we're having a little trouble hearing Alana. We're just going to give her a minute. I'm just going to give her a minute to catch up here. I'm sure that the people on our recording can still hear me. I'm hoping they can still hear me, even though we can't hear her. And I'm going to give her a few minutes, because I think what she's going to share is going to be pretty exciting.
You start off. Look
there we go. Alana, just one moment.
Now. Okay.
Okay. So now we can hear you really well, but your picture's still frozen. So let's just give it a minute. We'll give it a minute here and see if we can get it all together. Because I think what you're going to share is going to be super valuable for us, and I don't want to miss any of it.
Right.
Just another minute, because you're still frozen.
Okay. Yeah, you're frozen on my end, but I can, oh, now I see you. Now you're not frozen.
Let's just give it a second here. Let's try now. Let's see how we do.
Okay.
Go ahead with your self-love routine advice. See if we can follow it.
Okay, so I call it the mirror self-check routine, and this is where you take a mirror and we actually look at ourselves from a different perspective. So you take the mirror and look at yourself like first in the face. And a lot of times when we look in the mirror, we're putting on our makeup, we're doing our hair, and we hurry up and we just leave. But we don't actually take the time to look into our own soul. So I tell people to take 5 minutes and to look into their own eyes and reflect on what it is that they actually see. That way they could get a closer look of who they are. And it's scary at first, because you feel like, what is it that I'm trying to find? What is it do I actually see? What is it that I'm trying to hear within my own thoughts? And then the second step, I tell people to clean their house naked. Just, walk around the house completely naked and, wear a pair of high heels. I can't wear high heels, so I can't take it to that route. But, and find their inner sexiness so that they could see how cute they actually really are. Because a lot of people are afraid to see what their body looks like. They hop out the shower, put up, wrap up in the towel, put on lotion on, and then get dressed, and then they disappear. But they never take the time to actually, like, bask in their own glory of what it is that their body is. We have to learn to love our bodies as well. And then the third part is I tell people to take a handheld mirror and to sit on the floor and say hi to their vagina. Just look at it, talk to it, understand it, like, touch it. Because a lot of people are afraid to touch it. It's foreign to them, so if you can't touch it, how can you explain to somebody who's close to you that you want to have that sexual intimate relationship with? How are you going to tell them how to approach it the right way? So you have to learn how to understand your body, and then just looking at it, know that your labias are not going to be the same as the next woman's. We're all going to have different ones, and what people see in porn is not real. It's all manufactured vaginas staring you in the face. Yes, they may be pretty, but that's not real life. So we have to learn to love our own vaginas in the way that makes us feel great. So though, taking those 3 steps and using them, like, on a daily basis, wake up and tell your vagina hi, say good morning. I hope you have a great day, and let's start today off, rocking it. I want people to love themselves from head to toe.
Wow.
And actually mean it.
Yeah.
So by doing these mirror self checks, you take that self-care time to check in on yourself, instead of running around making sure everybody else is okay. You stop for those few moments and you take care of you.
And you called that a mirror self-check?
Yes.
I love it. It's profound to me as a gynecologist. I've been doing this 20 years. How many people don't actually look at their own vagina? It's remarkable to me. So I am all over the mirror self-check. I think that's a phenomenal idea, and one that I would love to share. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I want to make sure that everyone knows you have a professional website, empowermentofthesoul.com, and we'll put that in the
Correct.
chat so that it's in our chat, but we'll also put it in with our video. What else would you like to share about Alana Dixon McAllister?
About me, I'm not your average life coach. I don't sugarcoat stuff. I tell it like it is, and I'm open and I'm raw and I'm honest. I want people to feel like joy to the point to where they wake up every morning and they're excited about life. You're not upset about going to work. You're not upset about going to some meeting. You're just happy, and people will see the change in you once you start understanding yourself, and that your happiness comes first. I want people to live, like, extraordinary lives. I didn't get a chance to live like my best life in my 20s, but in my 30s has been amazing. And most people have an exciting 20s, but my 20s was like, I was killer, to the point to where I almost was committed to, the psychiatric ward. Like, that's how bad it got. And I don't want people to go down that route. I want people to see life, and just enjoy the sunsets and enjoy the sunrises and enjoy listening to the waves crash and enjoy, even just driving down the street, to the point to where, being stuck in traffic doesn't bother you anymore. That's the kind of feelings I want people to have. And that's what my plan or my mission is, to give the joy back for what we deserve.
And we do only get this one life that we know of, so it's to be cherished and so precious. And I think your raw authenticity is what allows people to resonate so deeply with you. And so you say you're not like other people, but in fact, so many people are like you. They just don't
know it yet.
You out there, and they're so happy to find someone that they can someone who's just themselves, that they can therefore get permission to just be themselves around. And that's how I have felt being with you. So I'm just really grateful for your time, Alana, that you were able to
Thank
share
you.
with our Empowered Women's Circle. I look forward to an ongoing connection with you. I hope you'll continue to hook in with us at the
Yes.
Empowered Women's Circle in so many different ways, because we can definitely be uplifted by your inspiration and by just who you are and the joy and the radiance that you bring into this shared space. And if you don't have this book, go get this book. It is definitely worth reading about I killed my vagina and all the other great stories in here. Alana,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. We'll be in touch with you really soon. Really appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Thanks for having me.